I think the biggest confusion here is that just because you don't have to pay taxes, just because you don't owe taxes, that doesn't mean you don't have a filing requirement. And that's where I think, hearing this can be misleading. The truth is that most nonprofits have to file tax returns, right? Even if they don't owe tax, they still have to file the 990s, the 990EZ or 990N, right? Just to name the main ones here. And if you're a calendar organization, which most likely you are by default, that's going to be due May 15th, right? So the official deadline is the 5th month after year end on the 15th day, right? Which if you're a calendar organization, it would be May 15th. If you're in a fiscal year, it can be different, right? But just be mindful of that. Really, the purpose of this is just to report information, right? Not necessarily to be taxed on it, but really just to report it. The IRS wants to know what is the mission, what programs are you running, revenue, expenses, information on governance, right, etc. And a plethora more of schedules that can be added depending on what your nonprofit is doing. So you have to be mindful of that and be careful. There is a risk with late filing or not filing at all. On the low end, penalties, right? The penalties, depending on the size of your organization and how late you file, can add up, can be significant. But worse than that, if you just don't file, after a certain amount of time, you can literally just lose your tax exempt status, which is, of course, what we don't want. And it can be super expensive and a headache to try to get that fixed. So filing is something that can't be missed. There are some exceptions, but again, for the most part, just assume that you have to file, right? And then, at least then where the deadlines are, and you're not going to miss these very important forms.